All right, welcome back, everybody, to the podcast, The Basement Binge. I'm your first try-host, Kelton.
And I'm your second try-host, Harrison.
And I'm your third try-host, Cade.
All right, everybody, this week we are still going along with our MCU dive and going through all the Marvel Universe movies. Last week we watched the first one, Iron Man, and this week we had The Incredible Hulk. And so, yeah, let's dive on in.
And remind everybody that we are doing these movies in chronological order, so that's why we watched these in this order.
Yeah,
there you go.
Today was kind of interesting. We had some streaming problems, so that could reflect our discussion today because we were probably 90% done with the movie. Would you say?
Yeah, we were really close.
It was probably like 97.
And it just died,
and it just stopped, and we lost complete stream ability at all. And
yeah, so we don't know what happened, but I technically still haven't finished this movie. I'm the only one here. This is my first time watching it, and I don't really know how it ends, except for what they've explained to me.
Yeah, I saw this movie a couple weeks ago or like a couple months ago, so I tried my best to fill in Harrison, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
But
it's right. Spoilers, I didn't like this movie that much anyway. So, should we just transition right into our rating super quick? I want to pull up give me 1 second. I'll pull up our lists here. Awkward silence. I'm just kidding. Hold on. Let me pull up our ranking.
I know. I remember on mine, I think I had this at second worst.
Mine was near the bottom. I know
after Thor.
Looking back at it, I remember specifically that we had, as an average around everybody, it was 22 overall over the three of us.
Okay.
As far as
our overall basement binge rankings.
Yeah.
All right.
So my personal ranking, just so those of you that don't know, definitely go listen to the podcast where we ranked all of the Marvel movies in the MCU before watching them. Because this rating, how we do it is we just kind of discuss, okay, this is where I put it before we watched it, and after watching it, do I think it's going to change at all? Going to go up or down or whatever for both the whole Infinity Saga, all 23 movies, but also the individual phase. So I'll go first. My personal rating for the Infinity Saga, the Hulk, was at 22. Personally,
so second last.
Yeah, second to last, and then the phase, I'm pretty sure I put mine at the Incredible Hulk at the bottom. So as far as the phase goes, it's staying there. And as far as the whole saga goes, this movie's probably going to go to the bottom. And I'd hate to say that. So I guess starting my 2 cents here. Do you have the timer going, Cade?
It is ready to go.
Okay, we'll get it going here. Let's start my 2 cents. So I personally really was looking forward to this movie. Like I said, I'd never seen it before. And I wanted to like this movie so badly. Genuinely. I really like the Hulk in the other movies. I like the Hulk particularly in the Avengers, Age of Ultron. And as much as I love the character of Professor Hulk that they did in Endgame, opening up kind of new stories there with Banner and Hulk being combined in one now, I was I love that idea, but I was sad that the character of Hulk was gone, if that makes sense. There's no more Hulk. It's only Professor Hulk now. So I was excited for this movie to get a dose of Hulk that I've wanted for a long time, and this just wasn't it. And I know that they're going for a different approach than the comics, but I feel like this movie had all the understanding of the Hulk and then absolutely none of it at the same time. The way Hulk as a character separate from Bruce Banner was portrayed. And maybe it was just the limitations that I don't understand. But it was just the story was just kind of lackluster and it was not super exciting. The action was good, but I hated the camera work. I'm sorry, whoever the DP is of this movie, but I hated it. It was super dark. There was constantly obstructions in the way, things getting in the way of the characters, foreground stuff. It was way annoying. And then the action, just the way it was shot, I did not like. It was not just aesthetically was not pleasing to watch to my eyes. It was almost chaotic, and maybe that wasn't intentional because the Hulk character is chaotic, but I didn't like it.
Yeah, it just made it feel choppy. But.
Yeah. I liked Edward Norton. He was rubbing off on me. He's definitely not going to replace my love for, what's his name?
Oh my gosh,
I almost called him Mark Hamill, but Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah, thank you.
But yeah, I liked Edward Norton. I like the character of Betty Ross. I like how they introduced the leader, but then they never use him. Abomination was kind of underwhelming. I don't know that. My 2 minutes are up. But like I'm genuinely struggling to find positive things to say about this movie, which is rare for me. So maybe it's just that bad. Maybe I'm a pessimist. Who knows?
Okay, I'll go second. So I've watched this movie before, maybe once or twice. When I first watched it, I was really captivated by the whole story because I've always liked the idea of Hulk. But walking into this movie, having already seen it and having already hated it, it took me till like halfway through the movie to like, okay, I need to step back and watch this with an open mind and like see the good parts of this movie. And I think the best part that they were able to portray is that it is really hard to control the Hulk, and he's like almost unbeatable. And that's what they got that idea across from what I got out of it. Also, they were really big about those wide view like shots, whether it was action or it was something that was anticlimactic. They always had these super wide shots for about 3-4 seconds, and then they went back to like how they were doing before. And I thought it was interesting, and I can understand their attempt in doing that, but it was mediocre. I also wanted to point out that the action in this, they like poured. I feel like they poured all their money into the action, and they didn't disappoint with the action because it's freaking Hulk. But the action I felt like was just so short because of their budget. Because I felt like I didn't have enough. I didn't feel bitter when there was like a bitter taste in my mouth when I finished the movie. But I felt like I was unsatisfied. Like I wish there was more action of the Hulk, which later on the other MC movies will satisfy that. But this movie kind of felt like it was just unfinished and spotty, even though it was it was a good movie, but not as good as others. So for my list, it's at the bottom.
Yeah, I'm curious where yours was. I haven't pulled up yours.
It was second to last on mine, but now it is now officially the bottom.
It's at the bottom. Okay, and I want to see
so far.
Yeah, that's true. And as far as like the phase goes, me and Cade both had it at the bottom, number 6 for phase 1. Kellen, you had it above Thor. Yeah. And in like your general list, you had it at also 22, right above Thor. So. Okay. Is yours going to go down at all?
No, I mean,
we haven't watched Thor yet. That's next week, but
yeah, I think if anything, it made it stay where it is at, like above Thor, because I have like no good memories of Thor. But anyways, I know, but you'll see. So this movie, the action scenes I really enjoyed, even though there's like 3. Like the whole movie.
How many are there?
But yeah, this is just a movie where it feels like it doesn't tie in with the MCU whatsoever. And it's true, like it's a lot earlier than all the other MCU movies, and they have different actors and stuff like that. But I just didn't get the feel that I was watching, like a Marvel movie. I didn't get that feeling watching it, and it's just like. There were a lot of things that I thought were left unexplained, especially the ending. Harrison, I don't know, like if you'll ever see it, but I hope you do. But yeah, I just feel like the movie doesn't do a good enough job to explain motives and stuff like that. Because you're kind of like in the beginning, it like kind of jumps you right into the story. We kind of talked about like the exposition trying to kind of give you a background, but it wasn't well enough so that you understood everything exactly what was going on, Like, first time watching, I was like, wait, why are they hunting down the Hulk? And, like, it still wasn't, like, the conflict between the General and Bruce Banner, it was never, like, for sure, like, what exactly was going on. But, yeah, this movie... It was, I don't know, a lot of different things came into my head on, like, I didn't like how certain characters are portrayed. Like, for example, I did not like Betsy. Betty, yeah. I did not like her whatsoever. She just, I don't know. I'll get into that later. But, yeah, this is a movie. I actually enjoy these action scenes a lot more than, like, the third time watching it through. I think they're really cool. But besides that, the story, I think it could be a lot better.
Dang, it seems like it's going to be a kind of downer podcast. I enjoy how like we're generally pretty positive about movies, but we got to be honest. One thing that I will say that you made me think of, Kelton, before we pick our poison, is like I felt like this was more of a General Ross movie than it was a Hulk movie. Like the only continuity I feel like this has is General Ross. Yeah. And like the later movies, like especially Civil War and stuff like that. Anyway, so before I dive into it, should we pick our poison super quick between never watching again, renting, or buying? And honestly, this is the first never watch again, except for maybe
you gotta watch the
to
ending,
finish
though.
the ending, but that doesn't count.
You need some
like if
closure
I had
at least.
If I had finished it this time, I honestly, sadly, I regret to say this because I wanted to like this movie so bad. I wanted it to like fulfill my urge for more Hulk, and it just didn't. And I'll probably never watch it again. Like I genuinely don't have a reason to watch this again. Like I don't know why I would, unless I was watching all the MCU movies again. So. Never watch again.
I feel like this is a movie I won't buy this. I won't rent it. But if it's like on TV and if it's on one of the fight scenes, I won't change the channel. No. But that's all it's got pretty much. So I'll talk about it. I'll probably joke about it, but it's a no.
All right, I'm gonna actually take a different take than you guys. I go for buy this movie just for one reason. And that's just to be able to have like the complete set of the MCU.
Like seriously, I plan on owning them all, and I will. Like I know I'll buy this movie, but like if it wasn't for that, if it wasn't in the MCU, I would never watch it again.
For real. But to actually pick my poison, the only time I would ever watch this again is if I'm with a group of buddies and I decide to watch all the Marvel movies 1 through 23 like we are doing right now. So, because I watched this movie a couple months ago. And sitting down tonight and, like, getting ready to watch it, I was just like, can we, like, watch any other movie tonight? Like, guys, I'm not going to lie, I'm not looking forward to Thor. I might fall asleep during that movie. Anyways, but, yeah, so this is a kind of movie for me where I'd buy it just to have it, the complete collection. But the only time I would ever watch it again is if I decide to do a Marvel marathon.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, we going to Easter eggs,
yeah,
right?
Any Easter eggs about it? I mean, I mentioned the leader, the scientist dude who's trying to like help Bruce control the Hulk, and then at the very end, some like of Bruce blood drops into his brain. And I don't know too much about him. I just know that he's like a comic hero or a villain named the Leader. He's some leader of some evil dudes. That's his name. And his head's like his brain's huge and it's green. Oh wow! He's like Brain Hulk.
Yeah, I had no idea what like ever happened with that.
But that
guy.
never happened. That was the only Easter egg that I noticed, and maybe you guys noticed some.
There was one where they were at the hotel, Betty and Bruce. She like bought him like really stretchy pants, and they were purple. that is a callback to like the really old Hulk. It was like classic green and purple. So that was like the only that's one Easter egg. They didn't really like plant any Easter eggs, I feel like, because it just wasn't it wasn't in the MCU.
Story was written of the whole MCU yet when they made Hulk.
Well, they had Iron Man had a lot of like.
That's true. There was an end credit scene with Iron Man, but still.
But I feel like that was just kind of just like thrown in, like, oh shoot, we gotta include this in the MCU. Let's throw on this end credit scene.
And that's why I feel like because it was directed by somebody else, and this was just kind of its own weird little. I mean, it's stuck out like a green thumb. Yeah. But like it was like that's what it was. Is that it was this weird little fluke that, what's this? Can't remember his name. The Honor of Marvel or whatever.
Kevin Feige.
Yeah, Kevin Feige couldn't grab hold of this movie before it was made or the rights to this character, and so he kind of just like.
Did he produce this? I don't know. I'm curious.
Yeah, I want to ask that because if he was, I feel like he would add a little more Easter eggs to it. So he didn't have much to work off of, and so maybe that's why.
Let's see. Writers. Zach Penn, whoever you are, that's the dude who wrote it. I'm curious. I want to look up whatever movies he's written to see if. Zach Penn. Oh, he wrote Ready Player One and The Avengers. Oh, wow. Those are both phenomenal movies.
I'm sure this was really early in his career. Huh, wow, that's impressive. Well, unimpressive would be the word.
Interesting. Okay, anyway, we were looking for a producer. Producer cast. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't. I can't find it. Yeah. Anyway, it's not that important. I don't know. I'm just really disappointed in this movie because I will say I've kind of been hinting at this. I think the character of Hulk is so interesting. Like, I think we talked about that exposition at the beginning. So if you've seen the movie, you know that it's like flashing between like news broadcasts and newspaper articles and like small scenes where it's pretty much explaining what happened, that Bruce got affected by gamma radiation, he became the Hulk, there was some disaster, and then he went on the run running from General Ross. Mm-hmm. And I think that it would be so much more interesting to explore, particularly in this movie, because I felt like this movie was trying to be, like, kind of side note here, something that makes like the Raimi series of their first Spider-Man movies, the Raimi series. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Something that makes them so good is that it's, as much of it's a Spider-Man movie, it's also a Peter Parker movie. Like, it's about the character of Peter Parker and like the drama of his life, and you're very invested with the characters. And I felt like they tried to do something similar, where this wasn't a movie so much about the Hulk, it was about Bruce Banner dealing with the Hulk. Yeah. But I felt like they just totally failed in that way because it was just like a huge exposition dump when I felt like it would have been more interesting, particularly for an origin story that this was. This was like an origin story, but not. I thought I would have enjoyed seeing like the motivations for Bruce Banner experimenting with gamma radiation and why he even experimented on himself and why he was trying to, like, they kind of hinted at what he did, but I felt like that wasn't true to what he actually did in the comics. And it was like, I longed to see like what motivates Bruce. Like, who is the character of Bruce besides somebody who's just dealing with his anger? And like, I just felt like I wanted more. In addition, I wanted more like Hulk. Like, I wanted Hulk as a personality, because I feel like what's so misunderstood about the Hulk is that there's a Bruce Banner and then there's Hulk. They're like two different people. They live in the same body. So when the Hulk comes out, it's not just Bruce Banner who's super angry. It's like the Hulk who's his own separate thing with his own personality. And they kind of get that later in the movies, but I thought it would have been interesting to see like him get super angry. And I felt like all of the fight scenes, the only reason he reacted was because of Betty, or like the situation he was in. Like, not necessarily because he was mad, just because his heart rate got high. Yeah, he's like gets too excited. It's like, no, the Hulk, he gets angry and then he just wants to smash things because he's angry, and that's the Hulk's personality. And then while smashing things, he gets more angry and then he gets stronger, so he smashes more things. Yeah, Bruce is never mad. In this entire movie. And I just felt like he fought because he was put in situations where he would get stressed out. And maybe it's my own misunderstanding of Hulk, but it's like, oh, he's put in situations where he's stressed out, so he's just kind of defending himself against the military tagging him, and then he runs away. It's like, I want to see the Hulk get furious, rip a helicopter in half, you know? Like, I don't know. I just, every time the action would come, I was like, oh, this is so boring.
Yeah, I had that thought watching the movie, and he was trying to avoid everybody, like, as because he's a fugitive. I got the vibe that he was like, it reminded me of Jason Bourne movies. It reminded me of like the movie The Fugitive, with Harrison Ford in it. And it didn't remind me of like actual Hulk. And because I remember going into the movie, I wanted to see Hulk. I didn't really care about Bruce Banner, and they were so focused on Bruce Banner trying to control Hulk, they treated Hulk like a disease, not like this character that's like superhero kind of a person. So I feel like that's where they dropped the ball there. They were so focused on like, he is like, everybody's after him, he's trying to protect everybody by hiding, and he can't control himself. His heart rate gets too high. But I feel like that was the wrong. They're off a little bit. If they just stayed on the point of when he gets mad, not when he gets his heart rate up, because then like that would it was weird. Like, it really restrict his life. It changed a lot of things in the movie. Like, couldn't exercise. Love life was just garbage, and like high stressful working jobs, that was out of the window. So like that limited Bruce Banner and what he could do. And Bruce Banner's got 7 PhDs. Like, nothing could. I just felt like everything when it comes to like the understanding of the character and like the enjoyment of seeing a character in a movie was just missing in this one. Like, I can't explain it, and I feel so sad saying this, that this movie isn't better. I want it to be better, but now seeing it, I understand why people don't like it, like why it's so forgettable. Yeah, so before we get into just a huge list of complaints, do you want to go to our favorite scene now? Yeah, get something good, because there were some good things, not many, but some good things that were good about this movie. But I want to start with this one. So
My favorite scene in this movie is it's not the full end fight scene, because I feel like everyone would say that, but the one part that I just really, really like is when we get to see, oh my gosh, Abomination, when so they fire that RPG at him. The military does. And he just grabs it and just, like, bites it.
Yeah.
Like, that is so freaking, like,
Just like throws on his
or I don't even know. It was, and like
throws at his face.
The fire just goes around his body, and he's just like, okay, this is sick, you know. And I don't know, that was super sick. And then I'd say from like that point until when Hulk shows up and beats the crap out of him, like with a police car as like boxing gloves, like that section is so cool to me, you know, because you get that sweet, you know, classic two big guys about to throwing hands, and they're running at each other. They jump at each other with the slow motion punch, and like, so yeah, and then just tearing up a police car and then boxing with him. That is so cool, and he just beats Abomination to a pulp, even though it doesn't even do anything. But still, that was definitely my favorite scene by far.
Mine too. Like the boxing gloves, it's like it was just the epitome of what Hulk does. Is he freaking smashes cars and he smashes people with smashed cars, and I also like the point where he had it's like whatever he was using anything with his hands. Like back at the school where he like ripped off that statue and he had these shield things and he was just like wrecking like crazy. I thought that was pretty dope.
Oh, and the kick.
Yeah.
I get it.
Whatever the dude's name.
Dude, what an idiot. Why would you ever do that to the Hulk? That makes no sense. He's seen him, like, tear things up, throw, like, giant items and or whatever, and then he walks up to him and is like, is that all you got? Like, I don't know. Ooh, which I'm going to mention later, but I think that has a part to do with my fall-in. But anyways, yeah. Sorry.
So, my favorite scene was when he's on the helicopter, and they're flying away, and Abomination is in the city, and Bruce Banner chooses to fall out of the helicopter to like go fight back. I appreciated that because it was like Bruce Banner understanding like the positiveness of Hulk and not just like running from it. I don't know, like I felt like that was one moment of like true character growth and development, and like I don't know.
It was explained well. It's like, oh, you can control it. He's like, no, I can like aim it. I think that was a really good way of putting like how the Hulk is, because it's still like it's a person, but he can aim it, not control it, but kind of just give it a direction.
Yeah,
you know?
Which I liked, and it like gave me more motivation of like why the Hulk would even be willing to like fight with the Avengers later. But then I also thought it was hilarious when he's falling and he like it's all epic, and he opens his eyes and you expect him to go green like it has, and then he's like, oh shoot, just wrecks himself.
Yeah,
that
he
was
makes his own crater. I thought that was a little weird. Like, it's just normal person just creates a crater in the asphalt. It's like, I thought that would be like kersplat, like really gory stuff.
Same though, if he just splats on the pavement, it just morphs into the Hulk.
That's it.
Yeah. So I don't know. That was probably my favorite scene, just because it was fun, but also like the characterness that was involved in it. I really, really enjoyed, both for the Hulk and Bruce Banner.
Perfect. All right, we want to go into worst scene. I think I actually have like two.
Okay.
First off, little side thing here. Well, yeah, there's a bunch, but only two I'm going to talk about, like the two worst in my opinion. The first one is when he's in Brazil. All right. It's totally unrealistic when he sends his blood to Dr. Blue. It gets there, it feels like in 20 minutes. Like, come on, guys. I lived in Mexico, and I sent a letter home. And it took like 3 months. A letter. And sending, like, blood in a package to the States. Come on, dude.
You just Venmo'd him blood.
Oh, my God. But it's like the timeline in this movie was so weird. Because remember, he's in like Guatemala, right? And then he's just walking. Or it's like he's in Mexico and he's just walking. All of a sudden, he like just shows up in the States. And it's like,
That's true, yeah.
But the movie makes it feel like, you know, just like a couple hours later, you know. So that was definitely one of the worst scenes. And then as far as like the other, I'd have to say anything with the girlfriend, Betty.
You don't like Betty that much?
No, because the only, like, her line is always, Bruce. Like, what the heck is that? I feel like she's always talking.
No, you gotta whisper it. Bruce.
Like, literally, I think she says that, like, 12 times in the movie.
And she's always whispering. Why is she whispering?
Like, every time, I'm sure, and the exposition in the beginning tried to touch on that, like, their relationship, and stuff like that. But it just felt so weird and just, like, stereotypical of, like, the awestruck girlfriend who's loving her, the evil guy, like, good guy. But, like, she's trying to fight for him and save him. So just, like, any scene with her, like, showing the relationship just felt so, like, stereotypical to me. And just, like, I don't know if it was bad acting, or the dialogue. But I really did not like the relationship between the two of them whatsoever. It just felt just weird. Like, the whole time. So, those are my two worst scenes, or parts, I guess.
My least favorite one, it's not necessarily scene, just kind of like a section of the movie. The whole encounter from when Mr. Green and Mr. Blue meet each other. And they go in his lab. I don't even know his name. The guy who becomes the leader. And he's talking to Bruce and Betty, and he's showing them their blood, and then they do the test. Like, that whole encounter, I was just like, oh my gosh. Like,
what is happening?
I have so many complaints about this movie, which I don't like complaining about movies because I genuinely enjoy them. But, like, every time I just think about it, I'm just like, that didn't work, this doesn't work, that didn't work. Like, I don't mean to complain. It was a good movie. I had fun watching it, but I'm just like...
So, I want to hear a little more, like, why didn't you like the whole blood thing with, like, Dr. Blue and stuff?
I don't know. I just think about, like, the whole context of the movie and, like, the whole plot. Like, if you think about the plot of this movie and break it down, I'm trying to find the right words. It's like, okay, Bruce Banner is like, and with all the exposition at the front, Bruce Banner gets exposed to gamma radiation, so now there's the Hulk. Yeah. And then Bruce Banner / the Hulk go on the run from the U.S. government and General Ross. So he's hiding away, and while he's hiding away, he's trying to find out a cure to get rid of the Hulk because he doesn't want the Hulk to be weaponized because of his fear of the Hulk or kind of the destruction that the Hulk can cause. I think this movie did do a good job of, like, the destructive power that the Hulk has. Yeah. Anyway, and then he pretty much is just on the run and gets involved in firefights with the government, and so the Hulk comes out, and then he runs away, and then Bruce comes back, and he runs for a little bit until the government catches up to him. There's another firefight, and the Hulk comes out, and then they run away, and Bruce comes back. And then there's this random middle scene where he might get cured because of this guy who later just wants to use the Hulk's blood to, like, I don't know, do something with save humanity, save the human race, like...
Okay, when you put it like that, this story sucks.
This story's so bad. Like, seriously, I don't want to complain because I'm not a complain person, but, like, you especially compared it to Iron Man, because I keep saying, like, oh, it's so early on in the MCU, because I think about the MCU and, like, phenomenal character development and writing and involvement and continuity, and I'm like, okay, it's early on. And I try and remind myself of that. I'm like, well, so was Iron Man, and so was Iron Man 2. And I love those movies for the character development and the plot and the story progression and the continuity of all of them. And I'm like, where did this go
it's just
wrong?
On its own, this movie.
I think the first inclination that this is a bad movie is that you have to remind yourself that this is early development. It's like an excuse that this should be a good movie. But I wanted to go back to favorite scene because I just realized that there is a favorite scene that I had, and that's when he first loses it and goes Hulk in the soda factory, where it's like this mysterious. You don't see him at all, and you just see guys getting thrown left and right. That whole scene, I think that was my favorite scene. Now I actually take that back. That was my favorite because it was like you don't really know what Hulk looks like or what he's doing. You just see this. You just know there's this monster, and he just throws this guy like 400 yards through this window. That was a pretty cool scene. But
those scenes made me think of, like, Sasquatch. Because it's like, we all know who the Hulk is and, like, kind of generally how, like, he should be. But, like, we just get, like, glimpses. And it just got this feeling of just, like, the camera's shaking, these bad angles, objects are in the way, there's, like, mist and stuff like that. Yeah. And same thing when Abomination comes out. I legit felt like I was watching, like, some like Sasquatch hunter just like trying to hunt some. It's like there's a
like
shake.
those TV shows I see. No, I know. You're right.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I have one scene that's like doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So it's got Abomination jumps out of the building and goes like walks across the scene like a Sasquatch, right? And then he sees the car fly by this way. Guess where the troop looks? He turns right where the car was thrown. Not left where Abomination was. Like he obviously went that way.
The next camera looking was Abomination like walking down the street, more Sasquatch. Just like what?
Yeah, I don't know. So we could sit here all day and just complain about this movie. We like really. I'm sorry, but this movie could be just torn apart.
You can totally make fun of it like we already are.
So
this is a comical movie. You could like sit down and watch this movie and just have fun.
yeah, so I feel like the positive thing about this movie is you could sit down and talk about like how bad it is, and it'd be kind of funny. But to not do that because that's kind of sad and depressing, and there's already enough of that in the world. Should we find a positive thing in this movie, like the message or theme that it's trying to portray? Because really, I felt like the whole time all I was watching was some dude who was trying to run from the government, but he was just failing, so then he'd have to fight as the Hulk, and then he'd come back and run again. And like I felt like there's such a huge disconnection between like when you see the Hulk again in Avengers, and Bruce is willing to help out, and the Hulk's willing to fight with these people. Like what makes the Hulk tick? What makes Bruce Banner tick? Like they kind of alluded to his smartness, but anyway, so you guys have any themes or messages that we could talk about that are more positive?
Yeah, actually, this one I just barely caught on this last time. Was just watching. Okay, what's the agent's name? It's like Bolniski or whatever. Blonsky. Yeah, the agent who eventually becomes Abomination. Spoiler. But if you haven't caught on to that yet, yeah.
Every podcast that we do will have spoilers.
Yeah, sorry about the guys, but you should just go on our social media and like check out what we're gonna watch. You could watch it before you listen to the podcast. But anyways, so it stuck out to me like his desire to become like the Hulk. Because look, like we kind of get a dive into his character when he talks about how he always wants to stay out in the field. Like he gets asked his age and he's like 39. Oh, yeah. But he doesn't want to be like a colonel. He doesn't want like a desk job. He like loves what he does so much, just going out like fighting in the field, like hand-to-hand combat kind of stuff like that. And then like it shows his progression from like at first getting this drug, and like all of a sudden he's like an enhanced like super soldier, but it's not enough. And like he wants to be like the Hulk, that power. He just like lusts after it. And I think the scene that kind of really brought that to my eyes is when he's talking to Dr. Blue, and he like asked him, he's like, "Did you see it?" And he's like, "Yeah, it was beautiful." And he's like, "I want that." And then he kind of like twitches. And he's like, "I need that." He's like, "I need that like now, like make me that." It just like, and I like even watching it, you kind of see like not only his like mental state changes, but his physical state just goes crazy too. It like straight up looks like he's addicted to crack or heroin. Like when he's looking at himself in the bathroom mirror.
That's like that. Some peeps, like some mental disorders have that where they look in the mirror and they see themselves as like this a skinny twig, but he's actually a pretty fit kind of guy.
Yeah, but I think it was maybe something different, like the opposite. Like we all saw, he like looked like he was like
He's gonna fall apart.
Yeah. And then like right after that scene, he gets on the helicopter and everyone's like, or this one guy's like, "How do you feel?" And he just like smiles. He's like a monster, and like he like enjoys that. So it kind of made me think of like addiction and kind of how like people become dependent on like certain things and how it can kind of possess their entire being to get like or fulfill that desire or need to like any point. And like I think it made him act in such a strange way. Like even when he said like the Hulk, when he goes up to him, or Bolinski goes up to him, he's like, "Is that all you got?" Like I'm sure a big part of that was driven by like this idea of being like powerful and just like being like the Hulk. So yeah, that was kind of something that jumped out at me, that kind of whole addiction and his progression to become the Abomination.
So I wanted to point out that with Bruce Banner running around trying to get rid of the Hulk, it made me think of like trying to chase away your demons, trying to run away from your problems, and that is not the answer. But you have to face your problems. You have to face your fears, face your demons, instead of trying to suppress them. Because I remember in my life, I've always had a struggle to suppress problems or struggles or demons, quote unquote. But this movie, I think, was trying to portray that in a really big way. Is that he had this horrible problem. He wanted to get rid of it. He tried to like his absolute best. Reached out for help, and then at the very end, he kind of embraced it and found some positive things out of it. And at the very end, he was able to see that he can actually have a life. He can actually live. It doesn't necessarily show that he can live a life, which I think they could have done that, and it would have been a better ending, better closure. But in the end, the main message is facing your demons is the only way to get rid of them.
Oh yeah, it's true, and that reminds me, Harrison, I forgot to mention in the ending part, like when it shows the Hulk, he like runs off, and he's like up in Canada or something.
The Hulk is running or Bruce?
Or sorry, it's Bruce.
Oh, okay.
Bruce is running up in Canada, and it shows like days without incident, and I can't remember the exact number, but I know it's really high. Like it's been a long time since he had an incident, like since he last like had to fight like Abomination or something, and like it shows him like meditating, and when he opens his eyes are green, but like he smiles, like he, I don't know, maybe controls it or knows how to interact with the Hulk now. But I did forget to mention that it does show that there's like a long period of time of days without incident, and then it shows him like being the Hulk, but like smiling, like he's enjoying it or he wants to, or he's like accepting his demon.
And if you fast forward to the other movies, like in Thor Ragnarok, this is a huge fast forward, but like he talks about how Hulk and Bruce Banner both have a hand on the steering wheel. And I think maybe at the end of this movie is that's where that moment happens, where both Hulk and Bruce Banner have a hand on the steering wheel and they share it, per se. Not necessarily like become Professor Hulk, but take a step in that direction.
Yeah, that's true. One thing that was weird with this movie though is they made the Hulk out to be like kind of dumb. Like he like freaked out at the lightning and thunder. It was like what? Just started screaming at the sky, just like like why is he done? And like he keeps hitting his head on the ceiling, and then like Betty's like, "It's okay, what? Look out for the ceiling." And it's just like, I just felt she was talking down to him, like he was almost like a dog. Yeah. It was just like, what the heck? This is not the Hulk.
Like an animal.
Yeah, it just made him seem just kind of dumb and like, I mean, you know, we know that like Bruce Banner is like a genius, and obviously like the Hulk doesn't have like that same level of like genius, you know. But it just made it seem as like he was just dumb, like just a wild animal who kind of recognized Betty and like was nice to her, and that's it.
It was like King Kong almost.
Yeah, I got that vibe too.
Like I'm gonna wreck everything, but if I see a woman / ex-girlfriend, then it's like, oh, it's all good.
Yeah, that's strange. Yeah, Harrison, were you able to find?
I didn't.
Okay. Yeah,
I think it's just, I don't know. I'm struggling to like come to terms with this movie and like accept it as a thing. Like I want so much more out of it, and I just can't have it.
were you able to like notice anything? I mean, I didn't pick up on this stuff until like just recently, because like, you kind of got to really look into it. I feel like to pick up on like maybe themes they have. But I don't know, did you notice anything like that kind of stood out to you?
There's like a bunch of things that like if I really think about it, I can like force it into like a meaning. Like, oh, there's little hints of this, but then if like I really, really work on it and force it, then we got something.
Kind of change the story to fit the theme.
Yeah, exactly. But organically, I don't know. No, I have like a bunch that I wish I would have, and I keep trying to force them in. And I can't pick any out. The other thing I was really confused about is, maybe you guys can explain this to me. I haven't watched it multiple times, because I haven't. So I was listening to a podcast a while ago. Speaking of podcasts and a podcast meta, and they were talking about this movie, and they were talking about how the one thing that they enjoy about it is like the character arc of Blonsky or whatever his name is. Blonsky, and how he's Abomination, and like the turn that he had, and like the progression of him in it. So I kept like watching for that, and I didn't see it. Maybe it's just because I was just so caught up in like viewing the movie for the first time. So maybe you guys have a reason like why they would say that. Like I'm really trying to process this movie and understand like why would someone say that they enjoyed the character arc and turn and progression of Blonsky. Like, do you guys have a reason why?
Why they would do that?
Yeah, like why they would enjoy that. They said that was the one thing they enjoyed out of this movie. Maybe we don't have an answer for that, but like I'm still trying to come up with one and I can't.
Maybe it's just like the idea of power. Because I think this might be a stretch here, but like I just keep going back to like where he says, if 10 years ago, if I knew what I know now, that would be a man I don't want to fight. So maybe it's like his idea of just being able to become that guy he doesn't want to fight. Be like the very best. Like no one ever was.
I saw that coming, man.
No, but like
catching them all.
No, but that he could actually become someone like he's kind of already dreamed of, I guess. But like it become, that's twisted. But like I said, I think that may be a stretch. But I'm sure it does have a part to play with his development.
I think it's more of that he was, being in the military for so long that he craves to have the top, just be the best of the best. That passion and your stupid face.
I'm sorry, I keep thinking about the Pokemon song now.
You thwarted this.
I would travel across the land. Searching far and wide. All right, this episode of the podcast, we're singing the Pokemon theme. This Pokemon to understand. Maybe hey, there we go. I found a message actually.
From Pokemon.
Because I was singing the song, and it's something goes like, no, I got to sing it. These Pokemon to understand the power that's inside. And so I was thinking about Bruce Banner and the Hulk, and I think that not in the same way that the Hulk is, but I think. Oh, how does this quote go? It's my wife's favorite quote, and I can't remember it. I'm going to butcher it. Sorry, Daisha, but something along the lines of, our greatest fear isn't what we won't become, but that we're like incredibly powerful. It's phrased way better than that. But the quote along the line says is like a lot of the times what we fear subconsciously is like our potential, and that we can become so much more than we imagine. And so I think that a message you could take from this film is the power you have within yourself and the misunderstanding of it, and how sometimes you can view it as evil, or you think that it could just be abused by other people, or that you have a reason for hiding it or running from it or trying to not let people access it, when even though it may be scary, learning to live with it and control it. And I'm kind of siding more on the side of the movie here, but anyway, your potential within you can be a huge force for good, even though it can be scary sometimes. Simplify it and just say, your potential within you can be scary, but if controlled and understood, it can be a huge force for good.
Dang.
Thank you, Pokemon.
Yeah, Pokemon. Dang.
But going off of like before the train went complete derail for a second. Sorry. My thought was that Blonsky has had that drive, that passion to just be the best. He became hostile in wanting to achieve that goal, and he sought very unrealistic and unhealthy motives to achieve that. And then once he saw that was quite possible and very possible, he became desperate. And so out of this whole movie, he had the best character development, even though he was the antagonist. Like from the beginning of the movie till the end. Is that first he saw the Hulk and he's like, what the heck is that? And then at the end of it, he's like, you don't deserve to have this power. I deserve to have it because I know how to use it.
Yeah, that is a good arc. I like that.
Although it is definitely like an evil and negative arc, I feel like a true statement is that his character is the one with the most progression and character development, or even though maybe in like backwards, he's degressing or getting worse, but the most character development. And he's the villain. And then we never see him again.
Yeah, that says so. Yeah, he's not killed.
Die.
Yeah,
And
He just gets thrown to the feet of the general, and
that's another thing I didn't get is like him and Hulk pretty much inflict the same amount of wounds to one another. Like the only thing is that the Hulk did to Abomination that Abomination didn't do to Hulk is that he like chokes him with the chains. Other than that, they punched each other and stabbed each other the same amount. I feel like, and I feel like getting choked out. I mean, especially if you're have the healing factor of a Hulk or Abomination, you'd maybe get knocked out for a minute or so, and then you'd stand up and then go ham again. I don't know. Like I said, I just feel like this movie had just a complete lack of understanding of the Hulk all the time.
I think this is the kind of movie where it's like you don't have to see it. Like Harrison, you've gone. That came out in 2008. You've gone like 10 plus years without watching it. Yeah, 10 plus years without watching it, and honestly, like I'm sure.
What benefits have you gotten from it?
Yeah. So it's like it's a kind of movie where it's like if you want like the full experience of the MCU, go watch it. Because Tony Stark is in like the end credit scene, but like everything else, like it's not like critical to the story at all. Like the other movies don't like do Easter eggs back to this movie. So yeah, it's just one like watch it if you want like the full MCU, but it's not like crucial to the storyline at all. But sorry, one last thing for me is like just thinking about it now when you're talking, Harrison, was like I think it'd be cool to compare this movie to The Secret Life of Walter Mitty with the idea, just with the idea of how you see yourself and how you want to be. Oh. Like, I think this would be a super cool movie to, like, compare.
Interesting.
Like, just that idea of who you are and who you want to be. And just kind of how that, like, drives, like, someone to do certain things or, like, believe in certain things. So I think it'd be really cool. And, like, you'd learn something way cool about, like, self-actualization, I guess. On, like, trying to be, like, reach your potential or, like, accepting you for who you are. I don't know. I think it'd be really cool. Maybe someone could do that and tell us how it goes.
Yeah, if somebody has any further comments about that or just, like, this movie in general, either comment somewhere or tweet at us and let us know what you think.
Yeah, tweet at us at it was at Binge Basement.
Twitter.com/bingebasement. www. Yeah, I don't have anything else to say about this movie. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited for Thor, and I want to see you actually have a little bit better perspective on that movie.
I'm excited for Thor.
Yeah, don't let my expectations like change as you guys see the movie. But
I'm excited for Thor for just because I haven't seen it in a long time, and I'm totally with you, Kelton. Like whenever I think about it, I'm like, the only thing I remember is the comedy and that sweet fight scene that Thor has when he's trying to get his hammer. That's all I remember in the rain, in the mud, and I'm like, okay, maybe it's gonna crash and burn like this movie did for me, but I'm excited for it. Hoping to have my mind changed. So yeah, subscribe to Kuhn for that.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao. Hey, that's mine.